So for today, I'll point out that the thing I should say every time, if you look down below the video, there are the index of this particular video and links out to the big index both for this group and for the lawn tractor or the original ROS Agriculture stuff. There's links out to that. And I should start putting out links to our Slack backup that we've been creating, but I haven't put that in there yet. And if I get to that point, maybe I'll actually rip all that stuff out from there and put it into the actual index. So I just got a single link to everything. But so anyway, you can go look at that stuff below. And if you want to know, so before you view it, you can say, do I want to know any of this stuff? Or if you come back later, it tells you in today's video that at 3 minutes, we talk about something. So the other thing is I've been playing with the Slack backup stuff again, and somewhere about a year ago, I noticed that it's throwing out our images after 1 year. They said we are going to throw out stuff after 1 year, and I thought after we ran the translator we were all set, that it downloaded all that stuff, but it turns out it's downloading the let's see. Let's pull up this. Well, I'm not going to go into it right now. Anyway, I thought if we'd go out to take the original source code and go out and download the files from Slack, we could save them and then figure out how to get those to show up in the future. So what happens right now is if you go down the Slack backup, it brings up an image that looks about like Slack, and you go down, there's a picture on the screen. So that's actually a thumbnail of what's going on. And you're supposed to be able to click on that, and it goes out and then brings up the big image of that. So it turns out that once they throw those away, so after a year, they start trimming everything off that's older than that and just throwing them away. So you click on it and it'll pop up and say, oh, I can't find this image, or it doesn't exist or something. So if we can download all those files and then put them in a directory, then I can go change the links in the code. So when you click on it, it'll bring up the files and we won't lose them completely. It turns out you haven't lost them completely anyway, because the thumbnails still show up in the thing. So this is just to be an extra handy thing to have. And then also if I start posting a link out to where to find these Slack backups, that it's easier to, number one, to know they're there, and number two, to access them. So and Al did some amazing work downloading the files, because I was baffled and couldn't figure out how to do it. And he just whipped the stuff up. So, oh, here you go. Here's just this downloads them for you. So I just got to take all the files we downloaded and put them into a directory, and then change the links in our Slack backup that you can access. So then when you click on it, instead of going out to slack.com, it just goes to our local directory and pulls them up there. So that hopefully that'll be an improvement here one of these days also. So I think basically I think I've caught up to the point where I think I've got all the meetings that I missed due to all my moving that I was doing. I think I've got those updated on the Slack page, and let's see, how quickly can I pull that up? So here's an example. Let's see, share screen, and go to here. So on Slack, bring this over here, get this out of the way. So it's the ones that I fixed, the ones that I went back to fix. Oh, let me complain about this. I already complained to Al about this. But if you got one of these that just says, it said info from today's meeting and told the title and then put a link to the YouTube video, then Slack automatically says, oh, here, let me give you a preview or a thumbnail. So right here is the thumbnail out to the video. And if you click on that or click on that link, it goes and plays the video for you. But if you start adding any more links, say you go over here and say edit. So like you come in here and say, edit this message. Maybe I could totally blow it away here. So you come in here, and if you add more links down below and you say, we're done, I'm just going to cancel here. What happens is once you add more links, this disappears. The preview to YouTube disappears, and I can figure out no way to get that to come back. So no matter how much I edit this thing, that won't come back until I go delete all the new stuff, and then boom, it pops back up again. So what I ended up doing was, instead of putting the whole index in here, the whole description that I normally create, I just said, "Oh, here, go to this link," and it brings up. Oh, I'm sure it's there somewhere. If I just click on this, it takes you directly out to the index. And so I've got these name tags on here. So if you just say you want to see the index # and then put that tag in as the thing, it takes you directly into the index. So here's all the stuff that should have been in the Slack page, and it basically is the same stuff that's there. And that's how I ended up fixing that, because I could not, if I dump all this stuff in there, then this image would disappear on the Slack page, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. So that's what I ended up doing, was coming back to that's not the one I wanted. I forgot where I was. Home Brew Robotics. Well, anyway, so what was I saying here? Oh, anyway, I fixed it. So I think that is, how do I get back? Oh, it's, oh no, no, one there. It's under Slack, so it's over here. So anyway, that instead of having the big description showing up here, I just simply substituted a link that points to the index. And I did that for like 6 different videos, because I could not. I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out how to get this image to come back, and I couldn't. But then I discovered if I just delete all the extra stuff, it comes back. So this is the way I ended up fixing that. And maybe in the future, I'll change everything over to working like this. So it'll say, here's today's meeting. It'll show you the preview, and then just have a link out to the index. You can go look at it that way. So if you want to search for something rather than searching Slack, then you can go out to, just go to the index anyway, which that's that what this one is. That's not the one I wanted here. So anyway, this is like 3 years worth of all the meetings we've done. So if you just search this for whatever you want, it'll pop up and say, "Oh, I found right here." Maybe search for batteries. It says, "Oh, here's something called battery pack." Say, "I want to see that." So if you just click on the thing at the top, you can watch the video, and it just gives you enough information about it. So hopefully that makes some sense there. So that I've been
It makes
playing with.
sense to me. Thank you for being the historian.
Okay, and there's probably other things we could do to make the stuff work better, but that's just at the moment that's the way it is. So let's
Well,
see.
is there any option? Well, if you go to your website with the list of Slack exports,
Yeah.
they're divided by date because Slack, requires us to download stuff every 90 days, I think.
Yes.
What would it, if I wanted to spend time on it, what would it take to combine, I don't know how many you've got now. Um, let's just say I saw 3 or 4 the last time I was looking at it. Not this level, a level up.
Yeah. Well, I
I was wondering what it would take to combine those 3 or 4 into one, so all the history was consolidated.
I don't know. It might be possible to do it, but they they make no provision when you do a backup and do another backup. There's no provision to tie those together. And I decided I didn't want to try to dig into it, because you might have to go through, when you say download a Slack backup, you end up with hundreds of these JSON files. And so for a particular date, it'll have one or more JSON file under there for the messages. And you might be able to trim those by hand before you run the translator. But now, since we've gone past the dates, we probably can't run the translator and get all the images back doing that. So I just decided that was more trouble than I want to go to. 'Cause you have to spend hours or weeks trying to figure out what their translator's doing and how Slack built everything and so forth. Anyway, right. So you were saying, so that if you go to my webpage in my ROS Agriculture section, I got this stuff. This top one happens to be, if you look at the bottom of the screen down there, the little thing pops up down here telling you the link, since you can't tell it. So this is the HTML. That's our big index. that's the useful one. And the next one is the text-based version of that that I use to feed into my translator to make that one. And then here's a presentation I put on. And these down here are the ROS Agriculture stuff. They're simply they're all text-based, and I have made no attempt to translate those into anything else at this point. So that anyway, but this is the ROS Agri. There's like 3 years of ROS Agriculture stuff here, and these don't. The the there is a ROS Agriculture page, which I think it got renamed to Robot Agriculture when the whole group fell apart, and then all the images got deleted out of there. Now the images are still out there on YouTube, and right here, if you take this for instance, and you have to copy this out of here because I don't have it converted. It's a little tiny text on my screen and my laptop's too far away. So I take that, copy that, and open a new window here and paste it into there. With any luck, it brings up the original video on YouTube. So that way, if you go through that index and find something you want to look at, you can cut and paste the thing in here, and you can watch that video. So they're still on there. So anyway, that's just a side point there, and I that's why I want to make videos sometime explaining all this stuff, and just have a link at the bottom instead of having my big chunk of indexes and links. Just have one link saying go watch this YouTube video where I explain everything, and then below that it can have all the links and stuff that you need. So anyway, if you want to know anything from back in the ROS Agriculture days, you can actually go out and you can go out and search this for whatever you want. And how long is this? This is
It was the Slack backups that I was personally interested in combining those.
yes, and right here I was gonna say, well, how many lines is in here? I guess it's not gonna tell me online. Anyway, it's a bunch of stuff. I think there's like 200 of the 250 videos have been indexed in here. And so if we go away from that, and yes, the thing, I'm totally lost. All these windows open now. See, it was a good thing I opened all those windows because now I have no idea what's going on. So let's back up from here. That didn't do any good. What's this one? Well, to answer your question, it might be possible, but I don't want to dig into it and figure it out. So basically, you have to go if you're trying to search for something in the Slack backups, then you have to open each one separately. It turns out you can click and you can open them all at the same time, so it's fairly easy to switch back and forth. And the thing in there that says, on the left on Slack, it says you're looking at Slack over here. It's got the section name, the channel names, and the first one has multiple channel names in it, and then the ones after that just have the random. Because I finally convinced people to quit putting it everywhere else. But in the actual backups, do I have that running anywhere? Oh, I've lost everything here again. So let's for the moment, let's just say no, it's not going to be easy to fix that, and I don't know if we can ever totally recover from it. So, I said you can't get the images back, but the thumbnails are stored in we have already got those stored because of the translator, and the new stuff that we need to get. I was able to download, most of that. So maybe if with enough effort, somebody could figure out how to do that. But right now, I'm not going to do that. And let's see. So I leave that open, and so I'm going to leave it at that. That's just kind of what we're doing, and that's where we're at right now. And yes, we may be able to improve something in the future, but right now, I'm not sure what to do on that, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to explain the whole thing to you at this point. So if you want to dig into this someday, we can, and I can tell you what I know about it. And it seemed fairly ugly once I was looking at it. I could not figure out how to change their translator. I was thinking I could change their translator, and maybe this thing we're trying to do right now, just make it so their translator automatically does that for us. But I go look at that, and I can't figure out how any of their stuff works, and I can't figure out how Slack works. So it gets ugly real quick. So let's see, what was I going to talk about today? So I noticed the Homebrew Robotics has published their last meeting they did. And speaking of Homebrew Robotics, here's a link to their webpage, and it just simply says hbrobotics.org will take you to their main page. And this is a description of their general meeting that they just had on May 28th. And it had Paul Bouchier from Dallas Personal Robotics Group, and then he was going to present an overview of the DPRG. So they're going to talk about their group, and we'll talk about that before we're done here. And he's going to talk about ROS and the Lino robot. Specifically, is Lino Robot 2 that they're talking about, because there's links down there that points to it. And then it has this other thing. The thing that I thought was really interesting, it's got this thing called Aider chat. Let's see, I can make this bigger. Control plus. No, it doesn't want to play. So anyway, you can pull this up and look at it later. But it's this Aider chat. It's AIDER.chat. And I didn't look at the actual code, and he says in his presentation he's going to explain all this. I have not watched this yet, but it might be, if you're interested, because it says it's something that will, it says Aider AI pair programming for developing ROS nodes. So I assume it's like one of those AI code generators where you say, I want to create a node for ROS and tell it what you want to do, and it generates some kind of code for you. So, if somebody goes and watches the video, it'll tell you all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is their main page, and I say, well, how do I get their meetings? And finally, I realized, oh, they put a YouTube, an image of the YouTube thing over here. If you click on that, it takes you out to their. This is their YouTube page, and it just says Home Brew Robotics Club, and then down here's all the meetings. So this is the one. This one right here is their last meeting they just did, and if you pull this up, this is an image of their meeting. And down here, it's basically telling you the same links, the same description I was just trying to explain to you. So anyway, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, see if you click on this AI.chat, and I briefly looked at this, and I didn't understand what it's doing and didn't have the time to figure it out. So anyway, that is something. Apparently, you can just download this and run it, and maybe it'll do something fun for you. So I just wanted to point that out. So then, speaking of DPRG, since that's where he's from, this is their DPRG. It's dprg.org is their website, and I think there's the link for that back on the Homebrew Robotics thing we were just talking about. So they're showing all their stuff here, and I thought, well, oh, there it is right there. I'd say, well, how can I find their YouTube stuff? Well, this thing called DPRG Clips is their channel, and if you click on that, it should take you to this channel. And it turns out they've got hundreds of videos here. Does it tell me somewhere how many there is? Again, right there, 796 videos. So they've got plenty of videos.
Boy, that's a lot.
If you want to go look at that stuff, so you can dig through their list here, and they may have it organized in a playlist. Let's take a quick look here. Yeah, they do have stuff in playlists, so that might be easier to find that, because they have, some of them are meetings and some of them are their I think they do Tuesday night, what they call it, Robot Night Out, where they basically go to like a maker space and build stuff, and then they have like a Zoom chat at the same time, so you can probably see what they're doing there. So this is a yet another whole robotics group if you want to go, see what other people in the world are doing. So anything else I wanted to say about that? I'll put links to all this stuff into the description or into the, what do you would call it, the notes/chat section of the description. So those are the two things I wanted to point out, that they had that meeting. And then why did I have this other stuff open here? No. So I'll move on from that. So then the next thing was, I was sitting around again thinking, well, I need to get my robot running again. I need to put a computer on it. So I either need to put on a laptop or a Raspberry Pi or something else. And I started thinking about all the issues of, say, trying to get a Raspberry Pi to work, because it turns out with the little computer boards, you have to, the board will run a certain range of Ubuntu operating system. And then when you go to run ROS, the ROS version has to match an Ubuntu version. And then the Ubuntu version has to match whatever your Raspberry Pi is. And I thought, well, rather than trying to track all that down again, I went out to our index on, I'm still sharing, yep. So I went to our index, I searched for version, and I started at the bottom, started working up. And on uh, February 6th of 2025, so of this year, I was talking about that stuff here. This one I should put make bigger. Oh, the other problem is I gotta be careful of the keyboards. That's the bad keyboard. Maybe that's why I couldn't get it to work before. So anyway, on this date, and again, to use the index, it's right here. So I searched this entire 3 years worth of stuff and found this, and it says Jeff talks about people switching to ROS2 on Raspberry Pi, and I start talking about the problems with the boards and the OS version and the ROS versions. They all have to match. And so I went through and basically described all the problems that I foresaw on this. So if you're interested, you can go back and watch that. And maybe next week I will have thought about this more to come up with a little more concise approach to all this stuff. But for right now, I was glad to go back to find that I talked about it once before. And I went back and watched this whole thing last night. And it kind of got down to the point where, here's Docker versus virtual machines, all this kind of stuff. And then one of the things I was thinking about, can I have two computers, say one Raspberry Pi running ROS1 and one running ROS2, and connecting them together somehow? So that was the latest thing I was thinking about. And I think I may have mentioned that, yeah, right here, or connect two computers together. And so I might have mentioned it, but I didn't have any real solutions then. But if you're interested, you can go back to this video and watch that. And again, I'll post this in the chat section. So there'll be some
What was your
references to that.
bottom line?
My bottom line is I got to go look at it, look at it harder to figure out what's going on here. So I probably what I'll do in the meantime is just take an old Pi 3, which I've got one. I think I already got like Ubuntu 1604 and ROS Kinetic loaded on it. I might just bolt that on and go with that, so I can be able to read my sensors and be able to create a ROS bag file. That's what I really need at this point. So I'll probably just go down that line and then, but be thinking about the rest of the stuff as time marches on here. So that's just more thing to do. Oh, the only other thing I have was I was saying like last couple of meetings I need to I was going to play musical tables and start moving all my tables around in my house. And I took the little table that I got out of the trash and put my TV on it. And the table that it was on was my video table that I used to use. So I moved it into my kitchen, which is what I'm on right now. And then the one in the kitchen, which is the larger one, I moved that back to my bedroom, which will become like a workshop table back there. So that I got that done, and I brought in a wooden shelf from the garage that I'd built one time to put DVDs and VHS tapes on it. And when I went to move it, I decided it was too big to get out of the house. It was too big to move my car. So I completely tore it apart. It's just made out of pine boards and sheetrock screws. So yesterday or the day before, I got around to putting that back together, which wasn't fun, but I got to put it back together, leaned it up against the wall, and it's not square. I thought, oh, now I have to loosen all the screws and then twist it so it's square against the wall and then tighten the screws up. So that's where that project's at too. So I gotta just more of my pathetic life trying to get stuff put back together. Oh, so when in my kitchen, I had a pile full of boxes that was when I got ready to move. Oh, this is kitchen stuff. So I got boxes like skillets and pans and dishes and utensils and all that kind of stuff. The whole kitchen was piled full of that stuff. So I moved those boxes and put in this table that's my new video table, and that left my robot back in the corner. I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that out. So I let's see, how could I? So I learned that when you go to do this, I'm going to stop sharing anyway. And let's get rid of this and go to my view. I should have been on speaker view here anyway. So, and so you won't see that unless you're playing it back. You see that I switched that. So I realized what you got to do is you got to say stop video. And if I do this, then hopefully people will get motion sickness if I do this. We'll see what happens here. I turn it back on. So there's my robot is now parked next to me. So I'm sitting at this my table here, which if I swing it around like this, so here's my table, and it's sitting in the basically sitting in the corner. I just wanted a flat wall behind me, so I got that now. And the robot was parked back here, but now if I leave it there, I can't get it out. So I thought it was easier to just move everything over and then come back over here, and I just parked it right there. So I can pull it straight out and move straight across the room there to get it out. So hopefully that'll give me some incentive to working on it and taking it outside again. So and otherwise, it just looks like it always does. So there's nothing really to talk about there.
It certainly is nice to have it close.
Yeah, that's the other thing when I go to work on it, I'm probably going to have to hook it up to some kind of computer and either put the computer right on the robot, or I could just have my table just run two USB cables over and plug into this computer, which is the computer that used to be on it anyway. So that would be a way to go through, because I need to test all the sensors to see what works and what doesn't work, and then just basically get it to the point where it's ready to go. So that's pretty much any progress that I've made so far. And so as I say, I think I've got all my internet stuff up to date now, or the point where I've got all my videos that I missed indexing. I think I got all that fixed. And Al and I both were working on that Slack backup thing, and that's kind of stable at the moment. I need to do some more work. I need to put the last chunk out there and get that ready to go. And other than that, oh, somewhere around here I've got a box of Raspberry Pis, and it's completely full of Raspberry Pis. And then this box just happened to say Raspberry Pi 4, and it does have an actual Raspberry Pi 4 in it, which has, it's just a Pi 4. It's got a piece of plastic screwed to the back. That's got some fancy water cooled radiator thing on top. That's got a fan on it. And then, but my point was, the board itself, that's the same physical factor as the Pi 3. And I thought, well, I'll just grab a Pi 3 out of that box. Well, I can't find that box anywhere, so it's probably in storage or out in my garage or somewhere. So it's nice on the Raspberry Pi stuff that it's all the same form factor, so you can just unscrew one and screw another one down. But since I can't find that box, I do have, which it's not handy here, I guess. But my Raspberry Pi, original Raspberry Pi robot, it's about that big around. And well, here, let me do this. Since I got all my props laying right here, here's a pizza. Here's a pizza thing. My robot's about that big, about that big around. It's got like two layers here like this, and it's got a Raspberry Pi 2, and it's got that little lidar, vacuum cleaner lidar on it. So there's a Pi 2, which I'll probably never use again because it's old enough. I don't want to do anything with it. And then I think when I was building my measuring stick, which was that monopod, like a camera monopod, and it had a survey grade antenna screwed to the top. It had the RG Simple F9P GPS receiver hanging from the side of it. And then I'd hook that up to my cell phone, which would give me correction data. And then I could see on the screen, it would tell me where I'm at and show me a little dot of me moving around. So anyway, that board, I think it's just laying in a box over here. I know where that box is. And I think it's already got a SD flash card in it that's probably has, that might even be the one that's got the Ubuntu 1604 and the ROS Kinetic on it. I know at the time I just, I need something to get that, test that stuff out. So I think I just put that on there. So theoretically, I just pull that out of the box, and that one would be close enough to put on this robot right here. So that's just more of my things that I could do if I decided I need to waste time. So I would say that's all I have to say for this time. And maybe I'll work on that stuff for next week. I was talking about, which, if I use a Raspberry Pi, which one do I want, and what operating system and what version of ROS do I want? Maybe I'll think about that harder for next week to present something. But that's all I have for right now.
Thanks for going through that, especially for being the historian and trying to save all that, save all our artifacts from the past.
Oh, just make a comment. So it's good that I did, because that's how I just pulled up this thing here that where I was talking about the Raspberry Pi stuff. So it's so number one, it made it fairly easy to find, and then number two, we've got it documented. The video got on YouTube. So it does prove to be handy occasionally.
I'll just go through briefly, sort of summarize some of the Slack posts that I've made, because that represents really the progress, or what I'm working on. This PCB made from PCB Way. It's the radio control device for, when my robot's under manual control, and for me to use this mode switch to put it in automatic mode. I had designed in the PCB Way for, I've forgotten which one of these lines. Must have been, yeah, this line is to power to VCC on this 10E, and I realized that was a really dumb move, because I couldn't get the modes. I think it was the mode switch. Oh, I couldn't get my LEDs to work. I've got 4 LEDs here that are programmable, and I can use those for different, to show different status. And I went back to my source, and I'm like, well, why the hell did I make that mistake? And then I see right here that that was to ground, not to positive. So anyway, I had to recover from that goof up, with a little bit of hand soldering, figured that out, got my LEDs to start working, um, which was cool. Spent a little time trying to work out this downloading Slack files, so we don't lose the original resolution files. And then my next step was to get my Teensy 3.2, which is on the radio control, talking over the NRF 24 radio to the Teensy that'll be on the tractor connected to the RPi 5. And so I won't go through the higgery jiggery that I did, but to basically jump to the point of, I am now able to, this is the structure of the data that I'm sending from the radio control, 24 bytes. I think I saw somewhere online that these NRF 24s sort of blow up at like somewhere between 30 and 32 bytes. So I'm still below that, have a little bit of room if I ever wanted to add something else, but I got a couple of buttons here that I'm not really using yet, and this voltage thing I haven't really used yet. But I've got those two radios operating at 10 hertz and able to pass the data, and I can, watch the data coming through on the Teensy. And so that's where I'm at. The code links are in Slack. And I think that my next step is this e-stop switch, which is just this big push button here, and I can 3D print. I've got mounting holes here to put a like clear cover over this, but this would be the e-stop, and I want that to set a pin on the tractor Teensy to throw a relay and ground the magneto to ground, and so to kill it. So that's probably my next step, because my goal is to get the tractor back up operational and at least start driving it manually, and then work towards driving it autonomously. So that's where I'm at 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 the moment.
Oh, you had mentioned that you posted something in Slack saying you've got this structure you're trying to send, but you can't get it to work. And then later on, you said it did work. What turned out to be the problem on that?
There's let me just in the code there is uh, you have radio, you have addresses for each of the NRFs, and you could use anything in here. I just used these mnemonics, radio control, and I put this in this I'm going to call it an array. There's probably a more technical word to use, but getting those are let me try to find the code for you have to use a command that's like open this pipe, the writing pipe and the reading pipe, and this is what is running on this is the it's not really easy, radio control, RC control. This is what's running on the Teensy 3.2 on the radio control, and then you've got to switch these around. So I had screwed it. It was user error. Is the bottom line. I had screwed up these addresses on these two commands. I went down this goofy path of maybe my problem is there's a more sophisticated way to pack these structures, and you can actually make them dynamic. And I thought, well, maybe the compiler for the 3.2 is different than the compiler for the 3.5. And I thought maybe I had a compiler issue, but in the end, it was I had just screwed up the addresses on the sending and the receiving on those. Open the two pipes. So frustrating, but an easy fix. And once I got that, it worked fine. And I'll stop sharing because it makes it so. This is what it looks like in real life. It's not turned on yet. I've got a switch right there. The RPI is behind me, and if I turn this on, this little red light or this light is going to go through different colors, and what we want to see is green. And when it's green, that shows that it's running at least over 5 hertz. I've got it set to operate at 10 hertz. But in less than 5 seconds, it's now talking back and forth with the RPi 5 or the Teensy 3.5. I'm connected to the RPi 5. So that's cool. I like it. And the sort of you can see the size of it. I like the size of it because it holds it. I've got two 18650 batteries on the back. The only thing I don't like at the moment is how I've mounted the battery holder. In those 18650s, I let it run for about 8 hours, and it was about halfway charged when I took them, or discharged when I took them off. So I think I could get 16 continuous hours of operation without too much trouble, is my rough guess. So that'd be a lot of operation. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, my remote control, I just have one of these USB charging batteries that's, hooked up through a USB cable. And I've never tried to see how long it will run, but it's nice because if I pick it up right now and turn it on, I believe it's got power. It just seems like, it never seems to be dead. And just occasionally I'll just plug it into something with, let's see, let's try it here and see what works. And it comes up, the red light says it's running, and it's just if you look inside, it's just, there's my USB charging battery stuck in there, probably on Velcro. So that
Nice.
so that just it's so in my case, it's not how long will it run. It's just that I don't want to have to charge it very often. And it turns out, just occasionally if I charge the robot, then I'll think about I should put this. I can just plug it into a laptop or whatever to charge it and just walk away, and then it charges it up. Yeah, it's got the button on the side to press it. It tells you how many LEDs,
Hmm.
the battery status. And anytime I check it, that's never been like under half, and I very rarely have to charge it. So that works out really well. Something like that. Now on
Very.
your batteries, you could put Velcro on the back of those, or put Velcro and still put rubber bands on it so it doesn't pull loose from the Velcro. But
Yeah, that's a good solution to get some of that heavier duty Velcro stuff. I got some of that somewhere, I'm sure.
or if you don't have to take that battery holder off, you could just put some kind of glue and glue the battery holder down, and then you have to pull the batteries out to charge them or whatever. But I guess
Yeah, at this stage, I don't know what would trigger me needing to take the battery holder off. I gotta, when I'm soldering it up, I've got to have access to some of the pinholes that are underneath there. So
well,
just think through the assembly process.
so how do you charge the batteries at this point?
I pull them out and put them in a 18650 battery charger.
Okay, I was thinking if your battery holder comes out and has a connector on the end that plugs on the board, you just unplug it from there and plug it into your charger. But if you're taking the batteries out anyway, I guess that doesn't matter. I guess you could
Yeah,
permanently mount that holder down. I guess was what I was asking about there.
yeah, I could do that. I mean, there's definitely some more more clever ways to handle it than I did. So it'll be version two. Trying to get back in the yard driving. So I could spend all my time on the daggone radio control.
Yeah, even like double back foam tape on the back between the board and the holder might be well enough to make that work. Or that, and then rubber bands again to just convince it to not pull loose from whatever is holding it. So
One of the things I do like is the programmable LEDs and being able to. Yeah, I got it to go red, and I think I know why, because the 2.4 gigahertz on this laptop is really noisy. So interesting. Yeah, got to be careful about interference in the area.
but it's handy. You got an indicator saying you do have a problem, so it's not as though you're walking around and all of a sudden your thing runs away from you. You can see the light on there is telling you that you've got a problem. So you should at least stop and think about it.
Right. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Okay, let's see if I say stop the recording.